Hello and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Inappropriate Quilter. I'm Zaza, the Inappropriate Quilter. So who have we got today that's in? Got Michelle. Hi Michelle, welcome. Hi Joyty, Brian. Morning Brian. Hi Jessica. She's in the car and on her way to work or school or something. Hi Jim and Cindy. I nearly said Sydney. Hi Sheila. Hi Rita. And the chat's just jumped. Hi Christina. So today I'm going to do Christmas cards and I've got a different setup this morning because the sun was streaming in and I also felt it was too nice to pull the blind down. It's a gorgeous day here, even though it's bitterly cold. My car's still frozen solid. So today I thought, right, I'm going to just move over here. I've got more space because we're doing a crafty thing today. I'm going to make Christmas cards with fabric. And now I've forgot where I put the Christmas cards. Here they are. So I've got a couple of packets of different cards. Another thing I've got is gift tags because they're quite good to use fabric scraps for making gift tags for Christmas. Now I got the idea for these cards from Amy, and I'm never sure if you say Dement or Dement, but I got it from Amy. She did it last year on she did her Quiltmas vlog when she went live every single day in December. So we've got different shapes, colours and sizes of cards. And these are really easy to do and can be really quite effective. And you can make them as complicated or as simple as you want. I'm just getting some of the different colours out. And then I'll shove them back in I shoved them all in my fabric drawer. So they were just underneath here. Hi Katie, hi Andrea. I don't think I've missed. Hi Joanna, hi Denise. So I thought I'll get out some different. You're not going to go back in that packet. Shove them back in here out the road. But as I say, just going to do some different versions. And the good thing about these is, if you can hear me over the plastic packaging, sorry, you can also make a little Christmas decoration and stick that in the front of the card. And I've got nice fabrics, but I've also got scraps of things to use. You know, that's just a scrap, but that'll be quite nice fussy cut out. And then that's another scrap, but quite nice to go on the front of a Christmas card. And then I've got well, there's more scraps, bits and pieces of small things. But I have actual nice fabric as well. These were for a project I was going to do that I never got around to doing. And I thought they'd be quite nice on a card, like poinsettia leaves. And these are actually backed with a fabric. They've been interfaced and backed. But they're all quite nice to go on cards, depending if you want to be modern or traditional. And the other thing I'm going to show you how to do today is to make fabric washi tape. Technically, it's not washi tape because it's not got the low tack like washi tape has, but it's basically fabric tape. And I saw that on Instagram and I can't remember who it was. I thought I had saved it, but I haven't. But even fabrics like this are quite nice to just fussy cut a bit out. And the other thing that I got from Instagram is Birdy, and the links are in the description. Sorry, I should have said that for Amy and for Birdy. Is she does little fabric stamps, and you can use tiny little pieces of fabric that are fussy cut, or if you've got little scraps, and then you back it onto felt, and you use pinking. She uses pinking shears, but I've got this one of these pinking blades, but it's the curvy one. It's not the zigzag one. And I also have up here that I've shown you before. Excuse the noise. These scissors, which have got the curved edge to give, if you can see that close up, they've got a curved edge. These are just on Amazon. To do that. And it's really hot in here and the heat's put me off a bit. So all you do for this is you would fussy cut something. I'm going to fussy cut one of these snowmen. And hope you can see okay on the close-up, because as I say, everything's different this morning. I've moved so that I did have a ruler over here. So that I'm not blinded by the sun. But yeah, you can make these. And if you make these and you use the fabric stamps, then you could make that into a little decoration. And when you're doing the stamps, you don't need a big seam allowance or a margin around the shape. You can go quite tight. And you can either just glue it on or you can use interfacing. I'm going to do this one first just to let you see, because this one takes the longest. But that's quite a cute little snowman. And I'm just going to cut out a piece of interfacing. So heat and bond, basically, this is. And I'm going to heat and bond it onto the felt. You could glue it, but then I'd have to wait on the glue drying. And gluing onto felt isn't great. I've noticed when you glue onto felt, the felt sucks up a lot of the glue. It's probably not too bad if you use a glue stick, but if you use like the PVA glue, even if it's the Elmer's school glue, you need to use quite a lot. I'm just going to use a little bit of this interfacing, and I'll just stick the iron on. And I'll shove this back in this drawer. So yeah, that's basically Heat and Bond Light I'm using for that. And obviously your felt needs to be a little bit bigger, because you do need seam allowance on that, and you need to be able to trim it down. So I'm just going to pop that in there, just to get a rough idea of the size that I'll need. Sorry. I didn't realise the chat hasn't moved, sorry. Hi Andy. I'm having to use the chat on my iPad. Good morning, Nikki. Good morning, Andy. See, this is different because the chat moves on the laptop. Good morning, Deb. Morning, Catherine. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning, Joyce. Sheila. Here's me thinking nobody was speaking in the chat. And it was just that my chat hadn't moved. Morning, Joe. Good morning, Mona. Morning, Shalom. Oh, Shalom, it's early for you on the right on the very west coast. Good morning, Catherine. I hope I haven't missed anybody. If I have, I'm sorry. Oh, here's Leanna's popped in. She'll be leaving for school in a minute. So yes, I've just cut this little square of felt out because you want it to be bigger so that you can trim it with the pinking shears once you get it to size. Pinking shears, or as I say, one of these edges on your rotary cutter. This is a cheap rotary cutter I got somewhere. It was like £2 or something. It's not even $3. And I just keep it for the pinking blade on it, so I've got one all the time. So I'm just going to iron this on and I shall be back in a second. When that's cooled down just a little bit, I'll take the back off. That way. Stick that on and then we'll pink it. Okay. So then you just to make it look like a postage stamp. They're really quite cute. As I say, you can use pinking shears. You can anything. I mean, to be honest, you could use straight blade as well, and it would still look quite cute. See, cute little stamp. Hi, Becky. Good morning. And then if you've got a darker card, the stamp shows up really nicely. And you could just stick that on like that. But if you wanted to, you could use a little bit of ribbon and just put a bit of tape on the back. And then you would just attach that with a bit of washi tape to the inside. I'm going to just use a little bit of this felt and I'm going to cut like that, just to make it look a bit neater. And I have double-sided tape. Oh, look at that. Is that not good? How often does that happen? I've cut the tape, the felt the exact size of the tape. Quite impressed with myself for doing that. These are also a great thing to do with your kids or your grandkids, but you could do it with ordinary fabric as well for cards throughout the year. And that's what Amy was showing. She was doing it with ordinary cards. But you just stick that on the back. Oh, try and better check that it's in the middle first. That would be good. You don't want the hanger being to one side because then it'll be wonky. Do that. This is just how simple this is. And I'm going to use just a bit of ordinary washi tape just to stick that on the inside. And then whoever gets your card has got a cute little, really quick and easy decoration for their tree. If you wanted it to be more rigid, you could put a piece of card behind the fabric or behind the felt. And I have Christmas washi tape somewhere hiding here. Just to make it look a bit nicer. Oh, for goodness sake, look at the length of that label. And what you can do, if you've got them, of course, which I'm kind of assuming most of you do, because if you're anything like me, you do all the crafts as a little stamp, and you just stamp Merry Christmas on the bottom. I've got this cute little one that I got. And I have an ink pad here. As I say, you can use this any fabric. It doesn't have to be Christmas fabric. And we'll see if I can actually manage to get this straight and then kind of in the middle. I've not used this stamp before, so we'll see how we get on. There we go, look. Isn't that cute? I mean, you can be quite sophisticated with it, but that's just one example. That's the stamp version. But you can also use those stamps. She uses them, the fabric stamps, for all sorts of things, to be like cute labels when she makes something. Excuse me, my nose is running. I think the last thing you want to see is me, a drippy nose like some old woman that's 90. Yeah, Birdy uses the stamps to decorate things that she's made, that she's sewn, fabric stamps. I'm just going to clear some of this rubbish out the way. I've got two bins here. I've got the paper and plastic bin and the fabric bin. And I remember the other week when I was saying about making fabric from scraps, well, I tidied up my scraps. Look at that. The bucket's half full and it's just like shredded pieces of fabric. So we'll see what else we've got. There's quite a few good things you can do. You could do circles, are quite nice with fabric. See if we can get a nice scrap. That fit in one of the circles. I use cookie cutters for things. That's a bit too small. I think that'll be too big. This, I think, is too big for that card. I'm going to put it on. Something nice. This is quite nice fabric. It's quite nice and Christmassy. That'll be quite nice on the dark card, I think. Not just fussy cut. So scraps are handy for things like this. You could just cut a square of fabric and stick it on and it would look great. But something like this, cutting a circle, and I'm just going to get a pencil. And that would make a good Christmas decoration too, because it's round. You could stick that on the felt backing and cut round it with pinking shears or even straight scissors. and it would look good. So I've got my circle drawn on. I don't know if you can see that. And the pencil. I just drew it on the front because that's going to be my cutting line. So it's not like you're going to see it. Nothing is to hand today. Everything's been over at my sewing machine. Somebody once told me, I saw it on watching somebody on YouTube, that when you're cutting a circle, you should start right at the top of the blade and go all the way to the very end of this blade. Like that, and you get a much smoother cut, because every time you do a new snip, you kind of get a slightly jaggedy bit. Yeah, got the circle. It's just when it's tempting to do, what was her name from Quilt in a Day? And she would just fling it over her shoulder when she was done with it. Can't remember now, I'm having a brain fart. So that, and if you do use a cookie cutter, if you've got a set of them, what's quite good is if you use one, usually 2 sizes up, so not the next size. You miss the next size out and you do the next size, that'll give you a nice margin. I'll show you a minute. I'm going to cut a piece of felt to go on the back of this. And I'm just going to check if it'll glow. That's a bit red. Green. I'm going to go back with the white again. No, not the white's not. It's bright red. I've got a nice darker red here. That'll go with that. This is a massive piece of felt. I don't know what I bought it for. It was a long time ago. I'm just going to draw around this. And I'll probably find that the pencil won't work. I'll have to get a pen. We shall see in a second. Good morning, Judy. How are you today? So what's the weather like? We were told we were getting snow this week. And I think half the country's got snow. But of course, because we're right next to the sea, we got rain yesterday. It did sleet a bit. And it was well, it did show up. It was bitterly cold and dark. But today's a gorgeous, it's colder today, but the sun's shining, so it doesn't ever feel as bad, I don't think, when the sun's shining. Don't mind cold weather when the sun shines. But it was really cold last night. And because the sun is shining, the house is roasting today. I always prefer to cut it out with ordinary scissors, and then if I'm going to pink it, go back round with the pinking shears. I find that easier than trying to cut it out with the pinking shears. We'll see. If you're using pinking shears, you have to remember and line up. Maybe it's just me, but I think there's nothing worse when you get half a pinked bit when you join the two. You overlap the blade. This is probably going to be wonky and it'll drive me crazy. See this bit here, I'm going to get a half bit. Oh no, that's not too bad. And then you just stick. So using the different sizes, so that was this size, missed and for the big bit, and I missed out one size out of set, and it's given me quite a nice margin. I probably could have pinked the inside one as well. And then you just stick that. That's quite a nice Christmas card. I'm going to try the Pritt stick, Elmer's glue stick for you Americans. And I did have it here. Yep. I was organised. Because it should stick to the fabric. This is one of the reasons I've got this grey mat on top of my cutting mat. Is I didn't want glue and gunk all over my cutting mat. This one I kind of used for crafts. There we go, just centre up. I think what will happen if I use this for that is that I'm going to end up with furry glue. Maybe, we'll see. I'm just going to stick this straight on, but you see the round one would make a cute ornament. Which way's up? I think that way's up. And that's not getting a stamp or anything on it. That one's just going like that. And I quite like that one because it's got the dark card with the red. So different options, but what Amy did, which I thought was pretty genius, and I'm going to do, she had craft card coloured fabric and she just stuck the fabric straight onto it. She didn't cut anything to size. She just took a piece of fabric and just stuck it straight on. So I'm quite tempted to do that. I'm going to trim this one with this blade. These pieces, there's stuff everywhere. I'm going to move these back out the way, just so you can see a bit clearer what I'm doing. But that will also work if you've got stars or hearts or ovals, Christmas tree shapes. I've got the set of 3 cutters here, and the sizes between them are big enough that you could use just the next size up. So instead of having circles, you could have Christmas trees and make them into ornaments. You see that okay there? That would work well. I'll put that on there and then you can lift it up. See, the space between them is enough that you could use each one. I'm just going to do about quarter inch from the edge of the house. The only thing you've got to watch with these blades, now I'm going to have to line it back up again, is not to nick your ruler. That bit's going to need snipped. Oh, wrong scissors. A little bit there. Needs a snip. A little bit here. Needs a snip. And just cut away. If you don't lift the pinking blades up, you can go backwards and forwards. I must have a nick in the blade, I think. But if you lift the blade up, then you've kind of got to match them. See, I should have just used the scissors, but now I've committed to this. I'm going to have to keep going. Yeah. Last one. Try and have it kind of straight. See, I think I've got it all, and then it does that as soon as I lift the pinking shears up. There. Amy just did this and just stuck it on. And you could get away with that quite easily, sticking that on a card. It's cute. But you could, and she just used the Pritt stick and stuck it down. As I say, she was using, or she wasn't using Christmas fabric, she was using ordinary fabric. Lovely fabrics. That way, when sometimes you get a nice fabric and you kind of don't know what to do with it, but you don't, not really big enough to chuck out, but it's cute. And I've got a pad here. I'm going to try this one and put this one on the bottom, see how this works out. To move it along the pad. Have I got this the right way up? Yeah. Right, we're just going to go for it and see. This could be a disaster. I've not used this stamp before. Hi, Aunt Beck. Oh, I buggered that one up. Excuse my French. Look, there's a oi. The H's didn't work out. You could probably just take a pen and do that, but you get the idea. If my stamp had worked, it would have said ho, ho, ho along the bottom. So that one will be going in the bin. I'm going to move that out of the way because it's got ink on it and I don't want ink on my fabric. But you could use any fabric. I mean, here's nice little gnome fabric. That would be great on a card, and you could fussy cut the gnomes out. You can tell that I was using this for English paper piecing and I was fussy cutting. And that's what I hate about English paper piecing. Oh, they're all wasted, those 2 rows of gnomes. But I've also got these cutters, which I bought for pottery. And these are ovals, which are good. I like using cutters for templates. Just going to draw around this one. I always find ovals are really hard to draw. And to get them looking okay. This one's just going to have a smooth edge. Instead of putting this one on a card, I'm going to put that down here. I'm going to put it on one of these gift tags. And if you're making That's a good idea. Idea, Sheila. Sheila's saying if your stamping's messy, you can stamp on a piece of cardstock and tape over that bit of card. Yes, you can tell that Sheila's. See, there's a cute gift tag. And if you have made your own fabric gift bags, you know, for Christmas to put presents in, you might still want gift tags on them. So you could do a coordinated gift tag and just stick that on like that. It's cute and easy. But you can, as I say, you can fussy cut. You could use all different fabrics. It really is. The only limit is your imagination. And the other thing I was going to show you that is great for doing cards is the fabric tape. And this is just double-sided tape. And I might actually be able to use a bit if I get a coordinating piece of fabric and stick that over that one. But is this the different? You just take strips of fabric, and I did some earlier, and you can actually cut this to size and have all the pieces separate, or you can just roll it back up. I always leave a bit on the end that's still sticky, and you can roll it back up. But with this one, this is just a piece of tape, fabric scrap cut on the bias. And I measured this, and it was 1.5 inches. So I just cut my strips. These are just, again, fabric scraps. The bias ones look really nice because there's the straight tartan there, and that was the piece on the bias. The bias does look fancier. And again, a bit of bias. But just, you know, often when you're trimming up a fat quarter and you've just got a bit of fabric left over, these bits, or even binding scraps, if you've just got a short piece left. I'm not going to use that whole red piece. I'm just going to snip a bit off. Now this is wider than the fabric. And you just stick it on. Just like that. Now this one I'll need to trim up because the fabric is wider. I'm going to take this one here. I'm just going to roll this up out the way. But because the fabric's wider, I'm going to turn it over and use my ruler and just cut it to size. But you can cut these now that you've got it on the tape, especially with the thicker tape. You can cut it to any thickness you want and then stick it on a card. You could also iron on to some heat and bond in strips and then press it onto fabric. But this will stick on fabric. So this one here, again, you could use the pinking shears and have pinked edges. I'm not going to use this because that blade's not great. But on this one, you could cut to 1 inch. And then you've got 1/2 inch left, so you've still got usable bit of tape. And it's now stuck there. And like for this card here, you could just put that across the bottom and the top. And it'd be quite cute. It's a slightly different colour of red. Stick that on there and then stamp onto the fabric. I'm going to stick that on the bottom, even though it is a different colour of red. Now I've lost the bit of tape I had. What have I done with it? Where has it gone? Answers on a postcard, please, if you find the missing tape. There it is. And I've put my scissors away. With that, I'm going to just trim it to size. And because it's double-sided tape, it should just peel back. In theory, I have used this on other things. And again, you can use this with ordinary fabric. It doesn't have to be with Christmas fabric. But you just stick it across the bottom. And you could stick a bit across the top. Just to kind of frame it off. I'm going to cut that a little bit bigger and then I'm going to trim it to size. Because it looks a bit odd with just with the bit across the bottom. There you go. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple. Joyty, I've seen the scalloped rotary blades. This came in a packet of 3. I'll show you the packet. And I've seen them in loads of quilt shops. It came in a packet like that by Prim or somebody like that, and it had the 3 different blades. That one's got a really big scallop. That one I think's for perforating fabric. And then it had this one. But you do get them in quilt shops. Amazon sell them. But yeah, cute gift tag and cute cards. And I've got thin tape here. And it's great for parcels. If you're doing a nice parcel, you can, or even on the envelope, you could stick a bit of tape across the envelope at a jaunty little angle. And have it just to decorate things. But it's quick, it's easy, it's cheap. Because that's the equivalent of the dollar store. Got hair stuck to the tape. Equivalent to dollar store. When I got this, if you're in the UK, it was out of Poundland. But it's cheap, it's quick, it's easy. Where is the jungle place? Thank you, Sheila. Sheila says that she finds her projects inspire her creativity. It's dangerous to have your mind pinging with ideas before you go to the quilt store. I have to agree with you there, Sheila. It is dangerous. I'm a bit like that. Want something Christmassy. That's quite nice, but it's white on white. I don't want white on white fabric. This fabric's gorgeous. This is by, I got it last year and it's by Makauer. It's Nordic Noel. Oh, no, this is Dashwood Studios. Nordic Noel by Lee. Somebody, I can't make that out. For Dashwood Studio. And I just think it's super cute. And I think for that, I would turn the cards that way and cut a piece like that and stick it in. and just cut a bit. I'm going to do that on that card. This fabric is super cute. How big is this card? The card is 6 inches by 4 inches. What will I get at this end? That's 6 by 4. Without wasting too much. Could do it 5.5. I don't want to chunk out the middle of my fabric. I hate fussy cutting fabrics. It's even got cute little mushrooms on it. Look at those tiny little mushrooms. Can you see them? How cute are they? And it is a Christmas fabric. It's got snowmen and things in it. I need to turn this ruler around. These creative grids rulers confuse me with a 1/2 inch on them. 1, 2, 3.5. I want it. I'm going to have to cut it this way and hope the ruler doesn't slip. And I want it 5.5. So 5.5 is there. I'll get the fox's head in. I'm going to have to snip that bit off. But you see, look how chaotic this is. I've got stuff everywhere. This is what I'm like when I craft things. It just gets messy. But how cute is that on a card? Just like that. And I want to make sure I have the edges glued. Sorry, you can't see that. The great thing about the Elmer's purple glue is you can see where you've glued. And it dries clear. Ah, sticky fingers. And I'm just going to eyeball it. About 1/4 of an inch. I think I've cut this a bit squint. Oh no, I will stretch it out. Not perfect. Doesn't need to be perfect. Normally that would drive me crazy, but it's just to let you see how cute would it be to get a card like that in the post. And there's all the bits on this fabric that you could fussy cut and do with those little stamps. That would be so cute. The Christmas trees, the little houses, there's snowmen, and the little fox, and the flowers. This is going to make my eye twitch. I'll just cover up that wonky edge. This is where the tape would be good, because I could put tape around the edges. You could even just use ordinary washi tape around the edge. This one's got trees on it, so I wouldn't use that because it would be on its side, and that would drive me crazy. Now this one's blue with stars. Oh, this tape. Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Judy. I'm sorry if I have missed you. The chat on my iPad is really weird. I'm not the best with the chat, as you know. And the end, oh, there's the end here. Finally found it. I'm going to take all that off. But you could just do, I'm going to do the sides first, I think, and trim them up. Not cover my wonky edges. I don't think I like this, but hey ho. It will do as an example of what not to do. Good morning, Melanie. Thanks for joining. Good morning, Kathy. I can't remember what I said good morning to you or not. Must be quite early for you, is it not, Kathy? There you go. It's framed Christmas stars. I don't think I like that, but it's a good example of what not to do. Judy's going to show up at Deb's house one morning and shock her. Yes, you would shock her, I think. Not in a bad way, but I think she'd definitely get a shock. Does anybody have any questions? That would be cool, wouldn't it? It'd be like me, one of you here, and showing up. It's like it was great in the summer when I got to meet Kathy, but that wasn't a surprise. So yes, you can use the tape, and normally I would just leave it stuck on the roll because I would just have a roll for that. Just curl it up and it'll stick. See that one, I've just left it on the roll and it's got all the pieces. Or you could cut them all to length if you wanted each individual piece of fabric. You just, that's all the bits I've got for doing for the thin one. They're cut to size for the thin tape. Bye, Linda. You're off to work. I'm sure you've got lovely weather in Florida. Or are you still having cold? Are the iguanas still falling out the trees? Somebody said that last week, the iguanas were falling out the trees. And those strips are for the thicker tape. But you can use any kind of washi tape on the cards. There's some glittery tape. That's quite nice. It's iridescent. And I've got ribbon as well. That's nice. Christmas ribbon. You can cut a piece of that and stick it on the bottom of your card. So yeah, it's easy. It's not rocket science. And they can be quite effective. It just depends how creative you are with what you do. But there's the ones that we've done today. We'll just ignore that. Oh, look what I did. That's how the card opens. And that's how I've stuck it on. I didn't even stick it on that way. That you could have had the card open like that. So that one was a complete disaster. If you're going to go wrong properly. Good morning, Katie. And then there's that one. You see that? I think that's my favourite, actually. That would have made a good decoration. And then that one that I did make as a decoration, and I used the little stamp. So it's quite cute. And the gift tag. Melanie must have fog. Because Chris is saying they could see just fine. Yeah, I don't like driving in the fog. I hate the way it mutes all the sounds. Everything goes quiet in the fog. So that's today's crazy projects. And as I say, you can use ordinary fabric and just make birthday cards. Use your fabric scraps, your offcuts. These are all just scraps, offcuts for the tape. And that's a good way to dress something up. Somebody at the door. See a scrap for going in my big giant jar. But really, you know, labels, packet of cards. The cards weren't expensive. This was a pack. It was 30 cards. They were just white ones, but it was £3.50, so it's like $4. You probably get them much cheaper in the US. And then there was the little cards. They were £1 for 6. But if, you know, a lot of people don't send Christmas cards now, so. Special, Katie, I don't know if I have special cultural ornaments and things related to Christmas. You quite often see tartany things coming out at Christmas, but I think that's because of the colours. You know, the reds and the greens go, I'm showing it and you can't see it. The reds and the greens are quite nice Christmassy colours. But Christmas cake, quite traditional, rich fruit cake at Christmas. Dundee cake, same, it's a type of rich fruit cake. In Scotland, my mum said when she was a child, people actually worked a half day on Christmas Day. Christmas wasn't a holiday. Hogmanay, or New Year, as you would call it, was the big holiday in Scotland, and you got 2 days off work at Hogmanay, and everybody went out first footing. So you went round all your neighbours, you went and visited your family, you took your kids, and you took something to drink. You couldn't turn up to first foot someday empty-handed. You had to have some sort of alcohol with you to offer them a drink or a piece of coal. And it was also extremely bad luck to be your own first foot. So you couldn't go out your house and come back in without somebody else having visited you first. So what usually happened is one of your neighbours came that didn't live on their own to your house, and you went to their house. Somebody at your household went to their house. So then you could both go in and out, and you were fine once you'd had a neighbour in to be your first foot, and you would do the same to them. Usually the men would nip next door, and you'd have family and things, but it was just to make sure you had a first foot, so you didn't have bad luck for the year. But yeah, Hogmanay was the big holiday in Scotland. Now Christmas is the big holiday. But even when I was a kid, when my parents went out on New Year, we were never left at home. We always went with them. It was very much a family thing. My mum said when she was a child, it was singing round the piano. You went to aunts and uncles, and your Christmas Day dinner, your New Year's Day dinner was traditionally steak pie in Scotland. It still is. It's still steak pie. It's your traditional Christmas, New Year's Day dinner. Whereas Christmas used to be a chicken. It's now turkey at Christmas. Well, Sheila, I'll probably just bin it, knowing me. But what I might do is just take that bit fabric off and shove another bit on, cover it up. We'll see. Depends if I need a card desperately or not. But yes, I could cut the front off the wrong side with the pinking edges. I could use the card for tags and things. That's a good idea. Sheila's full of great ideas. So yes, Katie, that's Hogmanay Christmas in Scotland. We celebrated the New Year. Robins. Well, robins are just traditionally a winter bird because they're here in the winter. They're not necessarily a Scottish thing, Joanna. They're sort of British, just a winter bird because you see robins here in the winter. Christmassy. So yes, that's it. So that's what we did today, just to show you quick and easy how we're doing cards with tiny, I mean, that one's just tiny little scraps you can use. You could fussy cut these. I really like this fabric. I was loath to cut into it. Could you tell? I kept looking at it and kept thinking, no. But I mean, how cute would a stamp be with that little car? A tiny little stamp to stick on something, a gift tag or something. And you could do the houses, you could do the trees. You could do that with the tree and the post. That's a post box for all you. I don't know if you can see that clearly. That's a post box. I'm probably better showing it this way. So you see these in the streets in the UK. It's where you put your mail. Bye, Aunt Beck. But yeah, these things would be super cute, fussy cut and made into the little fabric stamps. And you could do a whole selection of them on the front of one card if you wanted. It's just to give you ideas for Christmas. That was a bit close, wasn't it? Yeah, that was a bit scary. I didn't like seeing myself like that, so I can't imagine any of you would. So yes, I've gone over because Laurie comes on at 2. Yes, Joanna, you have red card. We don't have red cardinals here, and you all have robins. So I'd appreciate it if you enjoyed today's show, if you could press the thumbs up. If you didn't like it, please don't press the thumbs down. And I'll see you on Saturday for more Christmassy ideas. Okay, thanks for joining me today. Goodbye.